Hey guys, Chris from HockeyTutorial here. My name is Chris Kibui. I'm from Nairobi in Kenya, which is a country in East Africa. And just to throw it in there, I speak both of my native languages, Swahili and Kikuyu. I have a Kenyan passport because I was born there, and also a British passport because that's where I live. And I work for HockeyTutorial. And what we do is we create tutorials, reviews, guides, documentaries. Essentially, our channel, which produces videos for ice hockey, is there to educate, inspire, and grow the game of hockey. So everything started, I'd say early high school, so like year 7, year 8, when me and my friend Davey would go from East London, which was in East London, which is not where I live now, and then from there we'd go to either Lee Valley or to the original Romford ice rink. And we just got into skating, going backwards, spraying. And when that kind of kicked off, I realized kind of later on into it, as I got kind of decent at learning how to do the basics on the ice, that there was nothing online teaching people how to do this. And I thought there must be a few people on there that, you know, that can't go to get a private coach or whatever to be able to do it personally, so they could probably benefit from somebody doing videos showing them how to do it. So that's kind of how everything begun. I posted a couple of videos showing people how to hockey stop, and it got a lot of views. This is when YouTube was right in its infancy. I also put them on a site called break.com. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember that. And they did like 200,000-300,000 views, and people watched the videos, they commented, said make another one. So as I learned to then, you know, do different stops, how to go backwards, I posted all of that, and it kind of spiraled from there. The hockey side came much later. It all was focused around ice skating, which is what I did at the time. And then I watched the Mighty Ducks movies and decided that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and that's what I wanted to do next. So slowly but surely trying to get into hockey, I got myself a HDPE, which is a type of plastic, high density plastic that the shooting pads were made of. And then I started to learn how to wrist shot, how to snap shot, how to slap shot. And I posted videos on how I did those things. You can still find them, they're still online right now. They were terribly made, but at the time it was, you know, something that hadn't really been seen before, especially from a black dude living in England. So that was something different, and that's kind of where it all begun. And then in Cambridge, which is the city I live in now, every year they would have a temporary ice rink on the main green area, which is called Parker's Piece in Cambridge. And the ice rink, before it opened in the mornings, would let people come down and play shinny or like makeshift pond hockey. And I met a guy called Josh who loves to take credit for being the inception behind HockeyTutorial, one of my really close friends. The only way I can describe him is that he's of the same sort of characteristics and personality as Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. I'll leave it at that. You guys can use your imagination. And I met him, we actually met on Twitter, and he wanted to come down and try playing shinny in Cambridge, which was unusual for the city. And after we finished training, he told me that he played in Peterborough, which was about 45 minutes to an hour up north, a different city. That's where everything kind of really jumped into hockey, because I had access to a rink, I had access to ice, I had access to players, and that's where we started to create the tutorials that first launched the channel on the ice, instead of on shooting pads behind furniture stores and in my back garden. So that's when it kind of took a step further. So we're in 2013-ish, and I'm working for Apple. And I remember being on my lunch breaks in the toilet with my laptop, replying back to emails, you know, setting up product reviews with the manufacturers, discussing what production budgets look like in terms of covering camera operator costs, ice costs. There's a lot of things that people don't think about the videos. It's not, hey, give us a product and then we go film the product. There's a lot of things that go into it. People that are helping me produce these videos need to be compensated for their time. Thus, production budgets need to be created, which still surprises some manufacturers, which is something I'll never understand, different subject. So I'm in the bathroom typing up these emails to these companies, and I remember getting caught a few times by management at Apple, and eventually I got called into the office and they were like, pick. You either do that or you do this. And that day I grabbed my stuff and walked out the door and quit. And at the time I had a 2.5, 3-month-old child, the first baby that I'd ever had. And I remember how difficult that conversation was to have with my kid's mum to let her know that I was going to quit my full-time job that had great benefits, great securities for the future, to pursue making videos on the internet full-time. But that's what I did. I took it as seriously as I could, and that's the last time I ever had a job where I was employed. And since then, HockeyTutorial has been what I've done full-time, which is such an insane risk. But I feel like if you're committed to something, I'm fortunate and blessed enough to have what I like to refer to as delusional optimism. If I say something's going to succeed, in my mind, there's no way that it won't. And that's why I felt that it wasn't really a risk to quit what I was doing and to, jump in and pursue creating these videos as a full-time career. And it's something I've never shared publicly, but that's what happened. I walked out of my job and started to make videos consistently, and I try to make them to the best of my ability to make this sustain and work. And gladly, everything worked out. But if you tell a lot of people that you dropped out of university and quit a career that would have, been something pretty sustainable and pretty, good to have on my CV or my resume if you're in the US, it seems like a crazy idea for a lot of people to do. But to me, it just didn't seem crazy at all, because it's what I wanted to do. And since then, I can gladly say that I've never looked back, and I hope to never look back. In terms of the grind of producing content and keeping this business now sustainable, I don't think it's pretty clear to a lot of people how much work goes into producing a video, because aside from the actual conception of an idea, which can take days, sometimes a long time, but it can even take weeks, because you can reach, I'm not talking about being burnt out, but you can reach a period of your life or of the month or the year where ideas just aren't circulating, anything that you feel like the audience is going to really enjoy watching. So the actual conception of an idea can take a few days, and then there's essentially creating a rough script for what you're going to create, which can take, again, a few days. Then there's getting the team together, there's organizing the ice slot, there's organizing the products, then there's actually shooting the video, which can take numerous hours. Once that's done, there's then trying to formulate a plan of how this is going to plan out in terms of storyboarding the content. Because you can create an initial idea, but once you shoot and you see the content that you have, the storyboard is scrapped and you have to create a completely new story or a process of how you're going to give the information to the viewers yourselves. That takes a lot. Not that I'm complaining, because I really do enjoy doing it. I still get butterflies before I talk to the camera, even though I've been doing it for over 10 years. This is something that I love to do, but it's not without its challenges, and it's a lot more long-winded and difficult than I think a lot of people might presume. We used to create one video a week or so, and I don't know if a lot of people have noticed, but now we're producing 2 videos a week. So that means all of what I've just said times 2. And a lot of the conceptualization of an idea is coming from myself solo. I will, of course, on occasions refer to Chris Curtis and also Lee Elias for various ideas that we're working on. And also Gary in Romford as well. He honestly comes up with quite a few ideas as well. But there's just a lot that goes into thinking of an idea and then bringing that idea to light. Sometimes I can have an idea and it takes weeks or even months for it to turn into a video, and other times it can take 24 hours. But it's a pretty long and grueling process that isn't always shown. In fact, it's never shown. In fact, if you would like to see that, how a HockeyTutorial video is made, start to finish, let me know in the comments, because I think it would be a great way to show you exactly what I'm talking about. One thing that I don't think, again, I've ever discussed is your interaction, the audience. Seeing comments and reactions to videos in terms of thumbs up or thumbs down is massively critical, because there's often times that I will send, especially Curtis, who's behind the camera, multiple thumbnails, multiple video links, multiple concepts, and I'll even call him up and discuss an idea. I'm not sure if I should do this. Is this going to be good? How might it be perceived? It's so important to be able to get the feedback back after something like that happens, because there is occasions where I am unsure about a video that I've created, especially the video where we discussed NHL players not using the best equipment masking, etc. That was a video that I was really on the fence about making. But when I saw the feedback coming back from it, in terms of the last few months, it's been the most successful video that we've created. It's incredibly reassuring, and it allows me to know that it's okay to post things that are slightly outside of the box that we technically stay in. You know, we heavily focus on product reviews and documentaries, but then I'm giving you my opinion on, you know, information that we've seen unravel over time when we work with all of the manufacturers that we do, when you meet the NHL players and you see what they're using. So feedback is massively important. If I don't get the interaction from yourselves in terms of comments and thumbs up or thumbs down, I don't know if the video's been good, useful, or effective or not. So it's critical. And something I do have to share is, I think the last 100 videos that we've posted or more, none of them have less than 98% likes, which is awesome. At the start, it was just, you know, something that was fun. I never intended it to become a career, a job. That wasn't my intention at all. It was just something I enjoyed doing. I don't know why, but I loved posting the videos. I love creating the videos and posting them more than I love actually playing the game, which is probably a bit bizarre for some people to hear. Like, the joy of clicking upload for me is like the same as a player scoring a goal, which might sound weird, but that's just how I view it. I kept doing it because it was just enjoyable, and that's what it meant for me at the start. But later on, especially now in 2022, literally my entire friendship circle, bar maybe 2 or 3 people, are all involved in the game in one element or another. So from being something that was just fun, it's just become, as corny as it is, it's my life now. It's everything that I do, everywhere that I go, somehow is linked to hockey, and same with the people that I meet, either because they're creators in some way or because they play and love the game too. So at the minute, it's pretty much everything, and I wouldn't take it back for a minute. One of the main ones that I think any person posting videos on YouTube consistently faces is hate and criticism. And at the beginning, there was so much hate, because at the end of the day, I'm black, I'm not the best hockey player in the world by any means, and I'm posting videos trying to teach people about hockey products and how to do things on the ice. And if you get 1,000 positive comments about telling you how helpful your video's been, how great your channel is, and you get 1 negative comment, you remember the negative one way over the 1,000 positive ones, which is a really unhealthy way to be, but it's something that I think anyone that does social media for a living can relate to. So the main challenges I've faced is just people discrediting what you do and what you create completely based on the color of your skin, which for me, it really doesn't bother me. I'm not the type of person that can be really demotivated by those types of insults or comments. Obviously, it's something that you think about, but you know, I always try and remember that provided the videos always have more likes than dislikes, I mean, you can't be doing something wrong, so you just keep going. So I think that's probably been one of the most challenging things to get over, that people discrediting you based on your nationality or your race. But aside from that, it's, you know, you just keep going. I think there's 2 ways that I can look at it. One of the main ways of why I started to do the tutorials was I was looking at other tutorials that were available online. There was a guy called Jeremy Weiss from Weiss Tech Hockey, I remember. How To Hockey was around as well, of course, in its infancy. There was no Pavel Barber, there was no Nasher, there was no any of the other guys that are around today. This is, you know, when it first started out. There was another Kyle from, I think it was M2 Hockey or something like that. And they were, you know, great videos, and I really liked what they did, but they would skip a lot of the basic points in their tutorials because for them it was just completely natural and not something they would even think about. Like, you know, when they're taking a wrist shot, what edges are they on? They wouldn't really discuss that. They wouldn't discuss what edge they were pushing off of, for example. I'm not saying that's specifically what they missed out. And I just felt like they were jumping a lot of the basic steps because they'd been playing the game since they were kids. Whereas, you know, somebody that's getting into hockey in their early 20s, you know, needs to hear all of those basic steps to be able to figure out what they need to do. So that's why I started to make my tutorials, because when you're learning something and it's fresh and you're literally repeating what you're doing in video format, you can hit a lot more basic points and in a lot more detail than somebody that's been doing it for a long time. Like if you ask somebody to describe the biomechanics of how to walk, you know, you can't describe that in detail, you just walk. But if you're speaking to somebody that's just learned to walk as an adult for the first time in maybe many years, they would be able to describe it to you very intricately. And that's the reason that I decided to make the tutorials. Another reason is there's no brown faces, black faces on the internet showing people how to play the game. And I know that when you see someone that looks like you that is doing something that you want to do, it gives you a little bit more confidence to know that it's something that you can try, and it's not something that is, horrible, or you're going to have a bad experience with it. You might, but it's always nice to see somebody that looks like you doing what they're doing if you have the same interest in perhaps trying that. And I think that's really important. It's also about representation, and diversifying the game is always something that is in the back of my mind. It's not something that I bring to light very often, but it is something that I do talk about. Like if I walk into a locker room and there's an Arabic player or a black player or an Indian player, I'm always like, what's up? Another brown face. Like it's nice to see that, and it's never ever come across the wrong way. Even if it's somebody that I don't know, they'll also look at me and be like, oh wow. So it's just another thing to do, just to show people that it's, if you like it, go do it, pursue it. There's nothing stopping you besides yourself. So representation and seeing faces that look like you is important. It's a big part. So I kept my mouth shut during a lot of the stuff that's been going on in the NHL and all the pro leagues in hockey in terms of representation, culture, etc. My view on it, I think a lot of companies are making big steps, and it's nice that something that wasn't being addressed before is being discussed. That's definitely a point. The game is for everyone. It's something that I've never shone away from. We posted videos 7-8 years ago with the hashtag hockey is for everyone. This isn't new to us. It's something we've been pushing for a really long time. So it's nice to see the big entities backing this as well. They're doing a good job, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit more guidance and structure with what they do, because hockey went from being super white. Let's be honest. It's all you saw in terms of promo posters or ad campaigns, just white faces. And it's not something that I look at and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. It is what it is. It's a white game. I don't care. I love the game. I want to be a part of it. And then after all of this stuff happened in North America with the clashes with all of these different movements, etc., all of a sudden there was like a switch turned on, and then every manufacturer was doing nothing but showing athletes of color. I prefer, if you're black, just call me black, don't call me colored or whatever. But that's my personal take. But obviously if they were brown, if they were Hispanic, that's great. But going from no representation to constant barrage of representation, from my perspective, is just not the way to go about it. I'd like to see it integrated more organically. Instead of showing me brown faces that are involved in hockey right now, show me how these big entities that have the financial backing, that have the socioeconomic structures and funding to be able to do this, show me what you're doing to encourage other minorities to play the game. And of course, showing faces, like I said earlier on, is important. You see someone that looks like you want to be able to do it because you see someone that can do it, and that makes you feel like you can do it too. But at the same time, what are they doing to actually grow the game in these diverse areas, diverse neighborhoods, and encouraging players of different backgrounds to jump into the game? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to see. Those are the campaigns that I want to be pushed. But that's my perspective. I just don't want to see, every week or every couple of weeks a black athlete being thrown to advertise a new product. That fixes nothing, that solves nothing. It's a nice, pretty picture, but I want to see the meat and bones of what you're doing to really change the game. That's how I feel about that. Maybe it's going to rub some people the wrong way, but at the end of the day, I'm black, and I'm not black English. I always have to correct people on this. I was born in East Africa. I am African. I have an English accent because I've lived here a long time. I've gone to schools that were very diverse and mixed, hence the accent. But I'm African. I have a Kenyan passport. I have a British passport. So I feel like in terms of somebody that has the right to be able to talk about something like this, I feel like I'm pretty damn well suited to be able to share my opinion. But that's my opinion. Again, manufacturers, I'm glad to see them doing this, but there is another approach to it that I feel like will come across as a lot more genuine and will actually create movement and a change of pace for the future generations. In terms of the evolution of HockeyTutorial and why we post what we post, a lot of it comes down to telling stories that we feel are just not told. So this is something I actually had a conversation with somebody on my Instagram inbox. a company based in Nova Scotia. I don't really want to get into details of it, but they did a post about the CHL, the Coloured Hockey League, which, if you read about it, there is very limited information out there about the fact that black people were playing hockey in Nova Scotia a very, very long time ago. And I can't remember the exact name of the player, but there's a story of how the slap shot was used in the CHL 50 years before Boom Boom ever did it, yet he's the one that's credited for doing it. And this isn't me trying to pick at which story is real or whatever. I wasn't there, I can't comment. There's just a lot of stories from a lot of communities that play hockey that the Scandinavian world, the North American world that are very big on hockey don't know about. So we want to go there and tell the stories, show you that there are different people that you wouldn't expect to be playing hockey that love the game, if not even more than a lot of people that have it on their doorstep, because it's something that is very challenging and unique for them to be able to play, and they have to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to play it and still do. So that's why we went from not only creating tutorials and reviews, but we also started to shoot documentaries. The series is called Hockey In, and we've been to the Himalayan mountains in India to show you that they're playing hockey there. We've been to Nairobi in Kenya to show you that they're playing hockey there, Spain, and there's a bunch of other locations that we're going to be traveling to once this COVID thing settles down. But it's just about showing you that the game is loved and played by a lot more people than perhaps the traditional hockey fans and players might realize. And we want to show you that because it's important. In terms of the community around HockeyTutorial and what exists like now behind the camera, it's not just me, and I've never ever tried to take credit and say that it's me that's done this. There's been a lot of people along the way that have helped, and there's a lot of people that help now, from our equipment testers, Tommy and JJ, to camera operators, and essentially, I guess I don't even know how to refer to Chris Curtis, yourself, as producer, director, camera operator, like all of the above. And funnily enough, Curtis, who's behind the camera now, or Chris, he has the same first name as me, but I like to strip him of that when he's around me. So Curtis is actually the guy that showed me how to use a camera. It's a lot of people that work towards helping me get information, get products, get insight, to be able to deliver the videos that you see. Whether it's the phenomenal team of category managers that we have in North America from all of the different manufacturers that are based there, from the different retail stores that we collaborate with, like Puckstop, who are forever giving us equipment, giving us favors to be able to produce a lot of the videos that you see, to a lot of the people that are in Europe and Finland, like the Save Pond Hockey guys. There's so many people around the globe that work towards feeding information to us, giving us a heads up on new products that are coming, giving us a heads up of events that are taking place. It's not just me, although I'm the one that you see predominantly in front of the camera. There's a whole team behind HockeyTutorial that makes it what it is. I just happen to be the person that delivers the information, but there's a lot of us, and it wouldn't exist without all of those pieces working together to be able to bring you the content that hopefully you guys enjoy watching. In terms of growing the game, I feel like it's pretty clear to see that the game, in terms of the hockey nations, has reached a point of saturation. There's no more growth getting larger participants to get involved in the countries that hockey is a national sport. It's about looking beyond that. It doesn't have to be ice, it can be inline, it can be deck, it can be ball. It's just about having groups of people that are willing to create environments where people can feel like they can try something different. If you're never shown something and you never get to try it, how can you know if you like it or not? So I think that's a really big part of it. You can think of it as like sampling food. If you've never eaten, I don't know, like a Vietnamese dish, how do you know if you like it or not? You have to be introduced to it to then make the decision of if it's something that you want to continue eating or want to kind of experiment with and see what else that they have. And I think that's how hockey needs to go. In every community, in every neighborhood, wherever feasible, wherever there's passionate people that are willing to do it, come together, create events where people can come and try the game out, where they can pick up a stick, they can learn about the equipment, they can learn about what's involved. Even if it's like a little street rally in a car park, stuff like that really does help, and you don't know how that is going to impact someone's experience or someone's course of life. If I never watched the Mighty Ducks movies, I never went to an ice rink, I never met the people that I've met, I don't know where my life would be now. I don't know what I'd be doing career-wise. I don't know where I'd be living, because everything is so centered around the game. So I feel like if other people are given the opportunity to experience it, then that's really the best way to be able to grow it. And it's about focusing in areas where people don't get to see hockey, because just because they don't get to see it doesn't mean that they don't like it. Show it to them and see where that goes. Proudest moments in starting HockeyTutorial would be when the NHL followed me back. I'm joking. On a serious note, there's too many, if I'm honest. I mean, getting the YouTube 100K plaque was one thing. I remember eating a tiramisu off of it in a restaurant, and that was funny. That was pretty cool. There's been so many. I mean, I think the first big step towards this becoming something serious was the Sherwood video that Curtis behind the camera filmed. That's when the videos went from a guy holding a camera to full production. And I remember the comments in that video were like, what the F happened? Because this is not like anything that we've seen before. And that was another significant moment, because that's when everything that we did in terms of production standard and the quality of the videos, dare I say it, surpassed everyone else's that was online in the hockey scene at that time. Creating, high quality production videos is something that we've always wanted to focus on. But then again, I mean, having drinks and having a conversation with Aaron Ekblad in his living room, being able to meet a player of that caliber, not in a fan capacity, but in a capacity where we're just two people having a conversation. That again is another massive proud moment. Having Datsuk in my WhatsApp, which is something I've never made public, that's something that I sometimes sit back and think, what the hell's going on? How did we get here? There's too many moments of proudness to look back on, but I think the most important one is the fact that I'm still doing this today in 2022. That to me is the best thing ever. I don't ever want to go back to a conventional job, because I love the shit out of what I do now, and I want to just keep doing it for as long as I'm able to. The moment that makes me smile the most is, that's got to be the first ever trip to Finland. So much madness happened on that trip that I still to this day can't discuss. Curtis is in the background crying. So much happened on that trip. It was just great. I think today it's the only time I can think that beats that in terms of madness was our first or second trip to the Czech Republic, which again, can't go into any detail about. But yeah, those are the moments that make me smile. The moments that are off camera, those are the ones that we have a lot of fun with. I wish we could do behind the scenes, but you guys would see a very different side of the whole crew, so we'll probably avoid that for a very long time, because we'd have to change the rating of the channel to 18 for sure. I think in terms of the lessons that I've learned, I've had a pretty fortunate upbringing, because I moved quite a lot to different countries. And although that can be quite disjointing for a kid when they're young, I feel like what that teaches you is to be adaptable, which is a skill that not everyone is fortunate enough to grow and develop in their infancy. When you are adaptable and you can survive in any environment or any country or any situation, and you feel comfortable being uncomfortable, that is probably one of the most critical skills that I think anyone needs in life, regardless of what you're going to pursue, especially if you're going to pursue a life in hockey or a life in creating content. I feel like the biggest thing that a lot of kids might ask is, if they want to do something similar, what do they need, or what could I tell them? I would say that if you could see yourself doing the thing that you think you want to do for years, without making a dime, without making a pound, no profit, just because you're passionate about it and love it, then that's definitely the right thing that you need to be doing. But if it's not, if you're trying to make a quick buck, you're doing things for a very different perspective, and that's when you can run into a lot of issues. And it's when, if it doesn't show you results quickly, you can get frustrated and fed up very quickly and give up on it. These channels that existed a few years ago that don't exist now, I don't know why, and they don't always have to be related to hockey. I mean creators in general, because it doesn't come as a surprise to the people that know me, but I don't watch any YouTube hockey content. I watch a lot of videos around things that have nothing to do with the sport, but that's just what I like to do. So I think that's the most important thing that I've kind of learned is to be adaptable to any situation, to any problem, to any environment that you're in. It's a key skill that will allow you to succeed, not just in this industry, but pretty much any other industry out there. Hockey's given me everything. Everything I have in my life, everything on my body is from hockey. But the most important thing that it's given me is a pretty ridiculous community of friends, if I'm completely honest. I can go to any hockey nation in the world and I can Instagram or text someone that I know there, or groups of people that I know there, to go out for dinner, go out for lunch, jump on a scrimmage, or just hang out. And I think that is something that nothing else in my life would have been able to provide me in that much, like, what's the word I can use behind that? Exuberance, in that much madness. It's almost like a joke when you actually sit down and think about it. If it's Canada, if it's the USA, if it's Switzerland, if it's Sweden, Denmark, Norway, I could go there and meet someone if I'm on my own and hang out, go for coffee, relax, catch up. And I think that is the most priceless thing that hockey has been able to add to my life. In terms of my personal opinion, absolutely. And I think if anyone says they're not, it's a lie. I am. But that shifts over time, depending on who's creating and producing what. You'll see us give props in videos where props need to be given. If a company has executed something well, regardless of who they are, they've done it well. In the past, you guys have seen us, post a lot of favorable stuff towards CCM. That's because they were doing a very good job. More recently, you've seen us throwing a lot of props at Bauer. That's because they're doing things right now incredibly well. Although I might enjoy being with one brand perhaps more than another, and if you see my most recent In the Bag video, you'll see that that has very, very much switched up since the way it was a few years ago. The idea behind that is what is working for me is what I'm going to be biased towards in my own respect. If it's not working for me, I'm not going to use it. If it is working for me, of course I'm going to use it. But in terms of creating the content, I like to keep things I like to do things from a fact perspective. So what I'm giving you is factual information about the products versus another product, old versus new, or one manufacturer versus another. And I'm breaking down how these things have happened or how the product has performed in our experience when we've been testing it. So from that perspective, we try to make the videos as unbiased as we possibly can, but as human beings, bias will always exist in one element or another. But I feel like we do a pretty good job of trying to keep things facts as opposed to opinions. But you'll see in the videos, I do reel off both. This is what I think, this is how the product performs, this is what this feature is, and this is how it's worked. So that's probably the best way that I can try and explain that. So of course, before we close the video, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to the community out there that supports us, especially the people that have been rocking with us from the beginning, and I still see you in the comments. I try to respond to as many of them as I can. All of you, regardless of how long you've been following the channel or subscribing, if you didn't support what we do, it wouldn't be possible for us to do it. So big thank you for doing that. And in terms of what's next for the channel and what we've got coming, I think all I want to focus on is traveling and sharing as much insight into different hockey communities around the globe that, again, people might not know about. And also just to show that the game exists outside North America and Scandinavia. I think that's also incredibly important to do. And we can't wait to do that. I think all of this time that's been going on with this pandemic that's not allowed us to travel as much has kind of shown how much that is a really big part of why I enjoy doing what we do. And I can't wait to get back to doing it. And anyone out there that is trying to figure out how to help to grow the game, in addition to being as positive and as kind as you can be to people that are around you in the sport, regardless of how good they are, regardless of what their background is, it's just about trying to introduce people that haven't seen the game to actually try and see it. That's the most important thing. And if anyone is in a position to do that, whether it's having a little street hockey game or taking somebody to a hockey game that's never seen one before, do what you can, because you don't know what little gestures will have. I like to think of it as the butterfly effect. You don't know how something small can completely alter the course of someone's life.